One.
Hi, Met. Good to see you on the 2025 WhyAfrica Road Trip. This is your second one. Last year you joined me as well when we drove through Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Was it? Yeah, that was Mozambique with me. So this year we took a different route. We thought that we'll do South Africa and Eswatini, Lesotho and a little bit of southern Namibia. Just because I did have a lot of people ask me to do this sort of trip in South Africa, because I think that South Africa is maybe misunderstood or misrepresented, maybe. And so I just wanted to know your view now, seeing that you've been to these countries, other countries on the ground, what's happening on the roads, and in terms of business, your views comparing the two trips.
Yeah, Leon, I agree with you. I think the need for you to do a more South African focused road trip is very legitimate. I think there's a lot of opportunity in South Africa. When I compare the two road trips, the 2020-24 road trip, the 2025 road trip, what excites people about places like Zambia, like Zimbabwe, like Tanzania, you were also in Tanzania.
Yeah.
It's the massive upside, the potential to find a new massive gold discovery like what Barrick has done, or for you to find a massive copper discovery like what First Quantum Minerals has done. That's the allure of places like Zambia, Zimbabwe and Tanzania, right?
Yeah.
In South Africa, you almost hear a lot of negative news. And being on this road trip, which is more South Africa focused, I think that negative news is not justified at all.
Yeah.
Just chatting to you, what you have seen on the road trip, what I've learned is immense and reinforces the confidence I have in South Africa as a world-class mining, construction, infrastructure jurisdiction. I mean, you were in a town where they just finished constructing a new windmill power plant, right? A wind power plant.
Yeah.
South Africa's energy mix in the past 10 years or so has greatly diversified from just being only coal reliant, but now is using renewable energy, coal and nuclear, and so on. You compare that to other African jurisdictions, like for example Zimbabwe and Zambia, which is very reliant on hydroelectric power. When the Kariba Dam is low, those countries run out of base load, and they have massive power cuts. We might go see the Richards Bay port tomorrow. Rail and port infrastructure was earmarked as a massive bottleneck for the mining industry. But recently, Transnet has put in place acts and regulations to privatize South Africa's rail infrastructure, and they've already put their money where their mouth is by appointing 11 independent train operators to operate independently on the Transnet infrastructure. So the privatization process is underway, and that bottleneck is starting to get cleared. So for me, I think there needs to be a lot more optimism about the type of business you can do in South Africa.
People should be confident because the judiciary is still working fine. The political climate can be a little bit up and down, but it's still sort of people know what to expect in South Africa, right? In terms of that.
In fact, it's funny. So recently, Malawi had some elections and a new president. And everyone was clapping hands. There was a peaceful transfer of power. Whenever there's an election in Africa and there's a peaceful transfer of power, it makes headlines. No one ever says, "Oh, what a wonderful peaceful transfer of power," when there's a transition in the ANC. The ANC itself is democratic. They've had various presidents. Right now there's a GNU. That's a peaceful transfer of power. There were no coups, there were no riots, there were no assassinations. There was a peaceful transfer of power. So I think it's taken for granted that South Africa is a stable jurisdiction, and it shouldn't be taken for granted. I think it should be priced in to the investment. When you compare investing in Senegal, for example, and investing in South Africa, for example, you have to understand that South Africa is likely going to be more stable than those other African jurisdictions. And I don't think that story gets told
enough.
It gets told enough.
Yeah. Just a last note about the infrastructure. I actually counted the number of potholes on the main roads, and I'm not talking about secondary roads.
Yeah.
That I drove, and I would say I've maybe done up to 7,000 kilometers or so now. And I counted 9 potholes, and they weren't like big potholes.
Yeah.
It's just a note that I made that I think just to people always say that the roads are bad, and so that's just something that I thought would be interesting to let people know.
But and then when you go to remote areas, like your last year's road trip, when you go to places like Tet in Mozambique, Tanzania, close to Lumwana, how are the roads there?
Yeah, they were bad roads.
Yeah,
they were bad roads, but better than what you would maybe expect.
Yeah,
but they were bad.
Yeah. So I think that's the moral of the story for me for this year's road trip. It's almost ignoring sort of like the mainstream noise, and literally going with you to mine sites, to factories. We're at a factory today that manufactures about 6,500 shoes per day.
Pairs.
Pairs. So that's about nearly 13,000 shoes a day.
Yeah.
They import, they source 60% of their materials locally.
Yeah.
Some of their machines, like their conveyor systems, are manufactured in South Africa. This is a very developed, industrialized jurisdiction. So you hear a lot of noise about South Africa it's deindustrializing. I think it may be true in some sectors, but some other sectors are thriving. And I think we need to tell the good news story. And why we need to tell the good news story is that I think it motivates people to invest, it motivates people to do business, and it's just generally good for the country.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Met. I hope to see you on the next road trip,
Leon, the road trip, and I just want to tell this to your viewers, Leon Louw's road trip is, if you are really interested in the mining, construction, renewable energy, agriculture, those primary sectors in Africa that feed these African countries, is now a non-negotiable, either as a member or tagging along like what we do, or getting the very exclusive market intelligence that you get from Leon is now a non-negotiable. You don't get this sort of information and this sort of journalism anymore. Most of the journalism is now just regurgitating what's already in the internet. What Leon does is he goes and speaks to plant managers or general managers in far-flung parts of the world who are mining, who are dealing with regulators, who are dealing with authorities, who are dealing with ports on a daily basis. And the information you get when you get on the road trip and the information you read in the newspaper or on an internet article is totally different. So to answer your question, Leon, yes, certainly I will be joining you on the next road trip.
Thanks, mate. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.